Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you are watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true crime stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. February 19, 2013. The Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. A maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez climbs the rusty ladder to the roof, clipboard in hand, ready for a routine water tank inspection. Guests have been complaining for days. The water tastes wrong. Smells strange. Comes out discolored, almost black. Santiago has worked at the Cecil for 11 years. He's seen things that would make most people quit on their first day. This hotel has a reputation, a dark one that stretches back decades. Serial killers have stayed here. People have died here. The building itself seems to breathe misery. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could prepare Santiago for what he's about to discover. He reaches the rooftop and walks toward the 4 massive water tanks that supply the entire building. The Los Angeles sun beats down mercilessly, reflecting off the white cylindrical structures. He approaches the first tank, peers over the edge into the dark water below, and his blood turns to ice. There, floating face down in the water that hundreds of guests have been drinking, showering in, brushing their teeth with, is the body of a young woman. Her limbs are pale and bloated. Her dark hair fans out around her head like seaweed. Santiago stumbles backward, his hands shaking as he reaches for his phone. Within minutes, the rooftop is swarming with police officers, detectives, and forensic investigators. The woman is 21-year-old Elisa Lam, a student from Vancouver, Canada, who checked into the Cecil Hotel 2 weeks earlier. She was supposed to check out on February 1st. She never did. Her family reported her missing on February 6th when she stopped answering calls and texts. The Los Angeles Police Department launched an investigation, but the case went cold almost immediately. There were no leads, no witnesses, no evidence of foul play. Elisa had simply vanished. Until now. Detective James Rourke stands on the Cecil Hotel rooftop, watching as the coroner's team carefully extracts Elisa's body from the water tank. He's a 20-year veteran of the LAPD, specializing in homicide and missing persons. He's seen countless bodies, worked hundreds of cases, but something about this one feels wrong. Deeply, disturbingly wrong. "How did she get up here?" asks Detective Maria Chen, Rourke's partner. She's younger, sharper, and has a talent for spotting details others miss. She gestures around the rooftop. The door to the roof is locked. Guests can't access it. Staff need a key. The alarm system should have triggered if someone forced it open. Rourke nods slowly, his weathered face creased with concern. And the water tanks. Look at them. They both stare at the tanks. Each one stands nearly 10 feet tall. There's a ladder attached to the side, but reaching the top requires climbing, then lifting a heavy metal hatch that weighs at least 50 pounds. The hatch was closed when Santiago found her, meaning someone or Elisa herself closed it after she went inside. She climbed up there, opened the hatch, got inside, and closed it behind her? Chen sounds skeptical. Why would anyone do that? Suicide, suggests one of the uniformed officers nearby. Maybe, Rourke says, but his tone suggests he doesn't believe it. Or maybe someone wanted it to look that way. The investigation moves quickly. Elisa's hotel room on the 5th floor is sealed off and searched. Detectives find her belongings neatly arranged. Her laptop, her camera, her journal. Nothing appears disturbed. No signs of struggle. Her medications are there, bottles of pills prescribed for bipolar disorder and depression. Some are missing doses, suggesting she may not have been taking them regularly. Mental health crisis? Chen wonders aloud as they flip through Elisa's journal. The entries are scattered, sometimes coherent, sometimes fragmented. She writes about feeling watched, about paranoia creeping into her thoughts, about voices that may or may not be real. But there's also joy in these pages, excitement about her trip, plans for the future, hope. She was struggling, Rourke admits. But struggling people don't usually end up in locked water tanks on rooftops they shouldn't have access to. Then comes the breakthrough. Hotel security footage. The Cecil's cameras captured Elisa's movements in the days before her disappearance. The detectives gather in a cramped security office, surrounded by flickering monitors, and watch the recordings. Most of it is mundane. Elisa walking through the lobby, checking her phone, smiling at the front desk staff. She seems normal, happy even. But then they see it. February 1st, the day she was supposed to check out. 11:30 p.m. Elisa enters the elevator alone. She presses multiple buttons, then steps back into the corner. She's wearing a red hoodie, black pants, sandals. Her body language shifts. She looks nervous, glancing toward the hallway. The elevator doors remain open, refusing to close. And then Elisa does something bizarre. She steps out of the elevator, looks left, looks right, as if checking for someone. She moves in strange patterns, her arms raised at odd angles, her hands making unusual gestures near her face. She steps back into the elevator, presses more buttons, then exits again. This time she stands just outside the doors, her body partially visible, talking to someone or something the camera can't see. Her movements are erratic, almost frantic. She presses herself against the wall, then jumps back as if startled. The footage lasts 4 minutes. 4 agonizing minutes of Elisa Lam behaving in ways that defy explanation. Finally, she disappears from view. The elevator doors close. She's never seen on camera again. The video goes viral within days. Millions watch it online, obsessively analyzing every frame. Theories explode across the internet. Some say Elisa was running from someone. Others claim she was experiencing a psychotic episode. Paranormal enthusiasts insist the hotel is haunted, pointing to the Cecil's horrific history. Conspiracy theorists weave elaborate tales of murder, cover-ups, government experiments. But Detective Rourke focuses on facts, not speculation. He interviews hotel staff, guests, anyone who might have seen Elisa in her final days. Most remember her as quiet, polite, keeping to herself. One housekeeper mentioned seeing Elisa talking to someone in the hallway, but when the housekeeper looked closer, Elisa was alone. She scared me, the housekeeper admits. The way she moved, the way she looked around. Like she was seeing things that weren't there. Rourke digs deeper into Elisa's background. She was a bright student, studying at the University of British Columbia. She loved writing, photography, exploring new places. She'd been managing her mental health conditions for years, generally successfully. This trip to California was supposed to be an adventure, a chance to see San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Cruz. She'd been documenting everything on her blog, posting cheerful updates and photos. Until she checked into the Cecil Hotel. After that, her post stopped. Her last blog entry was dated January 31st. She wrote about the hotel's strange atmosphere, about feeling uneasy, about questioning her decision to stay there. "This place has a weird energy," she wrote. "But I'm trying to embrace the experience. Tomorrow I'll explore more of the city." Tomorrow never came. The coroner's report arrives a week later. Cause of death, accidental drowning. No signs of physical trauma. No evidence of sexual assault. Toxicology shows only her prescribed medications in her system, nothing unusual. The official conclusion: Elisa Lam climbed onto the roof during a bipolar episode, entered the water tank, and drowned. Case closed. But Detective Rourke can't shake the feeling that something's missing. He reviews the evidence again and again. The locked roof access. The heavy tank hatch. The elevator footage. The abrupt change in Elisa's behavior after checking in. And then, late one night while reviewing security footage for the 100th time, Detective Chen notices something. A shadow. Just for a moment, visible at the edge of the frame when Elisa steps out of the elevator. It moves, shifts position, then disappears. "James," Chen says quietly, rewinding the footage. "Look at this. Right here. Tell me I'm not seeing things." Rourke leans closer to the screen, his eyes narrowing. The shadow is faint, barely perceptible, but it's there. And it's shaped like a person. "Someone was in that hallway with her," Chen whispers. Rourke's jaw tightens. He reaches for his phone, ready to reopen the investigation officially. But before he can dial, Chen gasps. She's pulled up another piece of footage, this one from the rooftop access door. The timestamp reads February 1st, 11:52 p.m. 22 minutes after Elisa's elevator incident. The door opens from the inside. But there's no one visible on the camera. The door simply swings open, stays open for exactly 7 seconds, then closes. No alarm sounds. No alert is triggered. "That's impossible," Rourke says. "The system logs every entry. There's no record of that door opening." Chen looks at him, her face pale. Then someone erased it. They sit in stunned silence, the implications washing over them. If someone tampered with the security system, if someone was in that hallway with Elisa, if someone helped or forced her onto that roof, then this wasn't an accident. This was murder. But when they opened the hotel's maintenance logs and cross-referenced staff schedules for that night, what they found changed everything. The maintenance logs reveal something that makes Detective Rourke's stomach drop. On February 1st, between 11 p.m. and midnight, only 2 staff members had master key access to all areas of the hotel, including the rooftop. One was the night manager, a 53-year-old woman named Patricia Gomez who was stationed at the front desk the entire shift, verified by multiple witnesses and continuous security footage. The other was a maintenance worker named David Harlow, 29 years old, who'd been employed at the Cecil for just 8 months. And according to the logs, David Harlow had been working on the roof access system that very night. "Bring him in," Rourke orders immediately. But when officers arrive at David Harlow's apartment in Echo Park the next morning, they find it empty. Not just empty of people, but stripped bare. No furniture, no personal belongings, nothing. The landlord is confused and angry. Harlow paid through the end of March, yet he's clearly moved out without notice. Neighbors say they saw a moving truck 3 days ago, right after the news broke about Elisa's body being found. "He ran," Chen says flatly as they stand in the vacant apartment. Dust patterns on the floor show where furniture once stood. A single photograph lies face down near the window. Chen picks it up, turns it over, and her breath catches. It's Elisa Lam, walking through the Cecil Hotel lobby. The photo was taken from a distance, zoomed in, clearly captured without her knowledge. On the back, written in blue ink, February 1st. Before. Before what? Before she died? Before something happened to her? Rourke bags the photograph as evidence and immediately puts out an APB on David Harlow. His description goes to every law enforcement agency in California. 6'2", sandy brown hair, hazel eyes, medium build. Last seen driving a 2008 gray Honda Civic. But Harlow seems to have vanished as completely as Elisa did before her body was discovered. The investigation takes on new urgency. Detectives interview everyone who worked with Harlow at the Cecil. Most describe him as quiet, competent, unremarkable. He kept to himself, did his job, never caused problems. But one housekeeper, a woman named Rosa Martinez, pulls Detective Chen aside. "He made me uncomfortable," Rosa admits quietly. "The way he watched the female guests. Not obvious, you understand? But I noticed. He'd find excuses to be on certain floors when pretty young women were staying there. He'd volunteer to fix things in their rooms even when nothing was broken." "Did you report this?" Chen asks. Rosa shakes her head, ashamed. "I needed this job. And I had no proof, just a feeling. But when I heard that girl was found, when I heard David disappeared, I knew. I knew something was wrong." Chen's team digs into Harlow's background. What they uncover is deeply disturbing. Before the Cecil, he worked at 3 other hotels in Los Angeles over a span of 4 years. At each location, female guests reported feeling watched, followed, unsafe. At one hotel, a woman's room was entered while she slept, nothing stolen but her belongings had been touched, moved slightly. Security footage was mysteriously corrupted. Harlow was questioned but never charged. He simply moved on to the next job. "He's a predator," Rourke says grimly, studying the pattern. "He uses his access, his keys, his knowledge of the buildings. He watches, he waits, he chooses victims in vulnerable situations." But why Elisa? What made her his target? The answer comes from Elisa's blog, buried in posts from weeks before her trip. She'd written about her struggles with mental health, about medication changes, about feeling disconnected from reality sometimes. She'd been open, honest, sharing her journey with thousands of online followers. Anyone could have read those posts. Anyone could have known she was vulnerable. Including David Harlow. Detective Chen constructs a timeline. Elisa checked into the Cecil on January 26th. For the first few days, her blog posts are cheerful, normal. But on January 30th, something shifts. She writes, "Weird day. The maintenance guy came to my room to check the radiator. I didn't call for maintenance. He said it was routine, but the way he looked around my room felt wrong. Maybe I'm being paranoid." She wasn't paranoid. She was being hunted. The next post, January 31st, her last, "Can't shake this feeling of being watched. Keep hearing noises outside my door at night. Probably just old building sounds, but it's creeping me out. Thinking about checking out early, but I've already paid, and I don't want my anxiety to control my decisions." She never got the chance to check out. The detectives request all of David Harlow's electronic records. His phone, his computer, his internet history. What they find is a digital nightmare. Hundreds of photographs of female hotel guests, taken secretly over months. Elisa appears in dozens of them, starting from the day she arrived. Harlow had been systematically documenting her movements, her routines, her schedule. More disturbing are the searches in his browser history. How to bypass hotel security systems. Cecil Hotel roof access codes. Water-soluble sedatives that don't show up in toxicology. How long can someone survive in cold water? He'd been planning this. But the evidence also reveals something unexpected. Text messages between Harlow and an unknown number, sent on February 1st, just hours before Elisa disappeared. The messages are cryptic but chilling. Unknown, is it done? Harlow, almost. She's confused, disoriented. Gave her the stuff like you said. Unknown, make it look natural. No mistakes. Harlow, I know what I'm doing. This isn't my first. Detective Rourke stares at that last message, his blood running cold. This isn't my first. How many others had there been? How many disappearances, how many accidents, how many deaths that were never properly investigated? Chen traces the unknown number. It's a burner phone, purchased with cash at a convenience store in Koreatown. No name, no records. But cell tower data shows the phone was active near the Cecil Hotel on multiple occasions in January and early February. Whoever owned it had been in the area, possibly watching, possibly coordinating. Harlow had a partner, Chen says. Or a boss. Someone telling him what to do. The investigation expands. FBI agents join the case, recognizing the possibility of a larger operation. Human trafficking? Organized crime? A network of predators using hotel employees to identify and target vulnerable victims? The possibilities are horrifying. Meanwhile, Elisa's family is demanding answers. Her parents fly to Los Angeles, devastated and confused. In a heartbreaking press conference, her mother holds up a photo of Elisa smiling, vibrant, alive. Our daughter was not suicidal, she says firmly, tears streaming down her face. She had plans, dreams, so much life ahead of her. Someone took that away. Someone killed our Elisa. Please, help us find who did this. The public pressure intensifies. Media coverage explodes. The case becomes international news. Tips flood in from across the country. Someone saw Harlow in San Francisco. Someone else spotted him in Phoenix. Another claims he's in Mexico. Every lead is pursued, but none pan out. Then, 2 weeks after Harlow disappeared, Detective Rourke receives an anonymous package at the precinct. No return address, postmarked from Las Vegas. Inside is a USB drive and a handwritten note, "You're looking at the wrong person. David was just the tool. Find who used him." Rourke plugs the USB drive into an isolated computer system. The files contain surveillance footage, not from the Cecil, but from inside what appears to be a warehouse or storage facility. The timestamp shows February 2nd, the day after Elisa disappeared but before her body was found. In the footage, David Harlow sits at a metal table, counting cash. Lots of cash. Stacks of $100 bills. Across from him sits a figure whose face is obscured by shadows, but the body language suggests control, authority. They're talking, but there's no audio. The shadowy figure slides something across the table, a small object Rourke can't quite make out. Harlow picks it up, examines it, then nods. The footage cuts to black. Someone's trying to tell us something, Chen says, watching over Rourke's shoulder. But who? And why? Before they can analyze the footage further, Rourke's phone rings. It's the FBI. They've gotten a hit on David Harlow's credit card. He used it 3 hours ago at a gas station just outside of Barstow, California, a desert town halfway between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. He's still in the area, Rourke says, grabbing his jacket. Let's go. The drive to Barstow takes 2 hours. By the time they arrive, local police have already secured the gas station and pulled the security footage. It clearly shows David Harlow pumping gas, looking nervous, constantly glancing around. He pays cash inside, then drives off heading northeast on Interstate 15 toward Las Vegas. Highway patrol sets up checkpoints. Helicopters scan the desert highway. Every officer in 3 counties has Harlow's photo and vehicle description. He can't get far. But as the sun sets over the Mojave Desert, painting the sky blood red, Rourke gets a call that makes his heart sink. A gray Honda Civic matching Harlow's vehicle has been found abandoned at a rest stop 20 miles outside of Barstow. The car is empty. The keys are in the ignition. And on the driver's seat, written in what appears to be blood, is a message, "I'm sorry. I had no choice." K-9 units track Harlow's scent into the desert, but it vanishes after half a mile, suggesting he got into another vehicle. He had help. Someone picked him up. The partner, the mysterious figure from the warehouse footage. Detective Chen stands at the rest stop as crime scene techs process the abandoned car. The desert wind whips her hair around her face. The sun has set completely now, and the darkness feels absolute, oppressive. "We're close," she says to Rourke. "I can feel it. We're so close to the truth." But what they don't know, what they can't possibly know yet, is that the truth is far worse than either of them imagined. Because at that exact moment, in a basement 200 miles away, a young woman wakes up to find herself locked in a room she doesn't recognize, with no memory of how she got there. The break comes from an unexpected source. A forensic digital analyst named Marcus Webb, working late in the LAPD's cybercrimes unit, discovers something buried in the metadata of the photographs found on David Harlow's computer. Every image has embedded GPS coordinates, automatically recorded by his phone's camera. Most correspond to the Cecil Hotel, as expected. But 12 photos, taken over the past 6 months, trace back to a single location in the industrial district of Vernon, California, just south of downtown Los Angeles. Detective Rourke and Chen arrive at the address before dawn. It's a nondescript warehouse, gray concrete walls, no signage, surrounded by similar buildings in various states of decay. The kind of place you drive past 1,000 times without noticing. The kind of place where terrible things could happen unseen. They approach with backup, SWAT team ready. But when they breach the door, the warehouse appears abandoned. Empty except for a few metal chairs, folding tables, and strange markings on the concrete floor. Chemical stains, maybe. Or something worse. Chen walks slowly through the space, her flashlight cutting through the dusty darkness. That's when she notices it. A door, barely visible, painted the same gray as the walls. She tries the handle. Locked. Rourke brings in a battering ram, and 3 hits later, the door splinters open. The smell hits them first. Bleach, strong and overwhelming, meant to cover something else. Behind the door, stairs descend into darkness. Rourke goes first, weapon drawn, each step careful and deliberate. At the bottom, another door, this one heavy steel with multiple locks. And voices. Faint, barely audible, but definitely voices coming from inside. LAPD. Open the door. Rourke shouts. Silence. Then footsteps, running, something crashing. The SWAT team moves in, breaching charges placed on the locks. The explosion is deafening in the enclosed space. The door blows inward, and officers flood into what can only be described as a nightmare. 3 rooms, each with a single cot, a bucket, chains bolted to the walls. 2 rooms are empty but show signs of recent occupation. The third contains a young woman, maybe 22 years old, huddled in the corner, filthy and terrified. She's Asian, petite, with long dark hair matted with dirt. Chen rushes to her side, holstering her weapon. You're safe now. You're safe. We're police. We're here to help. The woman's eyes are wild with fear and confusion. She speaks, but her words are jumbled, incoherent. Chen recognizes the signs immediately. She's been drugged, heavily and recently. Paramedics arrive within minutes. As they're loading the woman onto a stretcher, she grabs Chen's arm with surprising strength and whispers, "He said there were others. He said I was number 7. Number 7. The words echo in Chen's mind as she watches the ambulance pull away. 7 victims. Elisa Lam might have been just one of many. The warehouse becomes a major crime scene. Forensic teams spend hours collecting evidence. Hair samples, fingerprints, trace DNA. They find sedatives, the same kind that could induce confusion and compliance without showing up strongly in standard toxicology tests. They find restraints, recording equipment, and most damning of all, a laptop hidden in a false panel in the wall. The laptop belongs to someone with sophisticated technical knowledge. Encrypted files, hidden partitions, routing through international proxy servers. But Marcus Webb is better. Within 18 hours, he cracks the encryption and what he finds makes seasoned detectives physically ill. Videos. Dozens of them. Documenting the abduction, drugging, and psychological torture of young women. The production quality suggests this wasn't just about personal gratification. This was commercial. These videos were being sold, distributed on the dark web to paying customers with the worst imaginable appetites. And there, in files dated late January through early February, is footage of Elisa Lam. But not just at the Cecil Hotel. The videos show her in this warehouse, in one of those basement rooms, confused and terrified, pleading to be let go. The timestamps prove she was here on February 1st, the night she disappeared from the hotel. Detective Rourke watches the footage with his jaw clenched so tight it aches. In the videos, you can hear voices off camera, giving instructions, asking Elisa questions designed to humiliate and break her. One voice belongs to David Harlow. But the other voice, the one in control, belongs to someone else. Someone whose face never appears on camera but whose shadow occasionally crosses the frame. The technical team analyzes the voice, running it through databases. And they get a hit? The voice belongs to Marcus Chen, no relation to Detective Maria Chen, a 41-year-old former hotel manager who was fired from the Cecil 3 years ago for inappropriate conduct with guests. After his termination, he disappeared from normal employment records. No taxes filed, no registered address, nothing official. He'd gone underground. But cell phone records from the burner phone show he'd been communicating regularly with David Harlow and at least 4 other men, all with previous arrests for stalking, assault, or sexual offenses. Marcus Chen had built a network, recruiting vulnerable men he could manipulate, placing them in positions at hotels across Los Angeles where they could identify and access potential victims. The rescued woman from the warehouse, once the drugs clear her system, tells investigators her story. Her name is Amy Zhao, a graduate student from Taiwan visiting Los Angeles for a conference. She stayed at a budget hotel in Koreatown where the night manager, one of Marcus Chen's network, drugged her drink and called Chen to pick her up. She's been missing for 3 weeks. Her family filed a report, but the investigation had gone nowhere. He kept saying we were merchandise, Amy tells them, her voice hollow. He said we were going to special buyers who paid extra for Asian girls who looked innocent. He said resistance was useless because he'd done this dozens of times and never been caught. Dozens of times. The investigation expands exponentially. Detectives cross-reference missing persons reports with hotels where members of Marcus Chen's network were employed. The pattern is undeniable. Over the past 4 years, at least 19 young women, mostly Asian, mostly tourists or students, disappeared after staying at specific hotels in the Los Angeles area. Some bodies were eventually found, ruled accidental deaths or suicides. Others were never found at all. Elisa Lam wasn't an isolated incident. She was part of a systematic operation that had been running for years, hidden in plain sight, exploiting the vulnerabilities of young women far from home. The manhunt for Marcus Chen and David Harlow intensifies. FBI behavioral analysts create profiles. Chen is the mastermind, organized, patient, calculating. He'd likely been involved in similar activities before, possibly in other cities. Harlow is the follower, desperate for belonging and approval, willing to do terrible things to feel important. The break comes from an unlikely source. A dark web monitoring system flags a new video being uploaded to a site known for illegal content. The metadata traces back through multiple proxy servers, but web follows the digital breadcrumbs. The upload originates from an internet cafe in Tijuana, Mexico, just across the border. He's taunting us, Rourke says, watching the trace complete. He thinks he's safe. Mexican federal police coordinate with the FBI. The internet cafe is placed under surveillance. And 12 hours later, a man matching Marcus Chen's description walks in, pays cash for computer time, and logs into the dark web. He's there for 27 minutes before he notices the police vehicles surrounding the building. He tries to run. Makes it 3 blocks before being tackled by federal agents. David Harlow is found 2 days later, hiding in a flophouse in Mexicali, strung out on drugs and barely coherent. He confesses immediately, desperate to bargain for a reduced sentence. The confessions are horrifying in their detail. Harlow explains how Chen recruited him through online forums, promising money and power. How Chen taught him to identify vulnerable targets, women traveling alone with mental health issues or substance problems, anyone who could be easily dismissed if they disappeared. How the Cecil Hotel was perfect because of its reputation. If something went wrong, people would blame the building's dark history, not look for a human predator. Elisa Lam was targeted because her blog posts revealed everything Chen needed to know. She was alone, dealing with mental health challenges, trusting, naive about danger. Harlow befriended her casually, offered to show her around Los Angeles, slipped sedatives into her drink at a coffee shop near the hotel. When she returned to the Cecil that night, confused and disoriented, he was waiting. The elevator footage, the bizarre behavior everyone obsessed over, was Elisa in the grip of drugs she didn't know she'd taken, trying to escape someone she couldn't quite see or understand. Harlow had been in that hallway, just out of camera range, hurting her, controlling her movements. When she stumbled toward the stairs, he guided her to the roof access, using his master key. But something went wrong. Chen was supposed to pick her up on the roof, transport her to the warehouse like the others. But Elisa, even drugged, fought harder than expected. She broke free, ran toward the water tanks, tried to hide. Harlow panicked. He couldn't let her escape, couldn't let her be found on the roof and tell what happened. So he helped her into the tank, told her she'd be safe there, closed the hatch behind her. And left her to die. I didn't mean to kill her, Harlow sobs during interrogation. I just needed her to stay quiet until Marcus arrived. I thought she could swim, thought she'd be okay for a few minutes. But when we came back an hour later to get her out, she was already gone. Chen's confession is colder, more calculated. He admits to running the operation but shows no remorse. To him, these women were products, investments, business transactions. He'd been doing this for 6 years, starting in Seattle, then Portland, then Los Angeles. The money was substantial, the risk minimal, until Elisa Lam's case went viral and brought attention he couldn't control. The trial takes 8 months. The evidence is overwhelming. Security footage, DNA, digital records, victim testimony, confessions. Marcus Chen is convicted on 7 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of murder including Elisa Lam, and dozens of other charges. He receives 7 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. David Harlow, in exchange for his testimony against Chen and the others in the network, receives 60 years with possibility of parole after 40. Given his age, it's effectively a life sentence. 4 other members of the network are arrested and convicted. The investigation uncovers 12 additional victims who survived but never reported their attacks out of fear or shame. With therapy and support, some find the courage to come forward, their testimonies helping close cold cases across 3 states. Detective Rourke stands in front of the Cecil Hotel 6 months after the convictions. The building is closed now, being renovated, rebranded, trying to escape its cursed reputation. He thinks about Elisa Lam, about her smile in photos, her bright optimistic blog posts, her dreams for the future. She fought, Chen says, standing beside him. Even drugged, even terrified, she tried to escape. That's why the elevator footage looks so strange. She was fighting for her life, and none of us understood what we were seeing. Rourke nods slowly. 21 years old. She should have had her whole life ahead of her. Elisa's family establishes a foundation in her name, dedicated to supporting young travelers and raising awareness about predatory behavior in the hospitality industry. Her story, tragic as it is, saves lives. Hotels across the country implement new security protocols, staff training programs, background checks with teeth. But late at night, when Detective Rourke closes his eyes, he still sees that elevator footage. He still sees Elisa's confused, frightened movements. He still wonders how many others are out there, trapped in basements or water tanks or shallow graves, waiting to be found. The official report states that Elisa Lam was murdered by Marcus Chen and David Harlow as part of a human trafficking and exploitation ring. The case is closed. Justice, as much as it exists, has been served. But Chen's last words to Detective Maria Chen before being transferred to federal prison echo in her mind. He leaned close during transport, handcuffed and shackled, and whispered, "You think this ends with me? There are others doing exactly what I did, right now, in cities you'll never think to look. I was just the one who got caught." She reported the comment. Investigations continue. Task forces form. But the dark web remains vast and anonymous. Hotels still employ thousands of workers with master keys and private access. Young women still travel alone, trusting that the world is safer than it is. 3 months after Marcus Chen is imprisoned, a college student from South Korea disappears from a hotel in San Francisco. Security footage shows her entering an elevator alone. The doors close. She's never seen again. The investigation is ongoing. If you made it this far, you've just heard one of the most disturbing true crime cases in modern history. The death of Elisa Lam wasn't a paranormal mystery or a simple tragedy. It was murder, plain and brutal, hidden behind confusion and misdirection. Her case exposed a network of predators that operated for years in the shadows, and while justice was served, we'll never know how many others suffered in silence. If this story affected you, honor Elisa's memory by staying aware, staying safe, and looking out for each other. Drop a comment with your thoughts, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into cases that demand the truth, and remember that behind every mysterious disappearance is a real person with a real story that deserves to be told. Stay safe out there.